All right, so today we are going to be working with associative and commutative properties. So these are properties that we use in algebra to simplify expressions. Commutative property is the order of values does not matter when using multiplication and addition. So 3 times f is the same as f times 3. An associative property is where the grouping of the values does not matter when using multiplication and addition. So for the example, we have 2 times the value of 9 times s. That's going to give us the same value. It's going to be equal to the value of 2 times 9 times s. So let's dive a little bit deeper into commutative property. So here's an example. We have 3 plus w plus 5. So there's a little note. We cannot add letters to numbers. Variables is what we call the letters. We cannot add those together. We're either searching for them or putting a number in its place that is given to us, and we're not in that position yet. So this is a really good example. It says, imagine if the W was a walrus. You can't add a walrus with the number 3. It just doesn't make sense. So we're going to use commutative property to switch the W and the 5. So what they did was now it is 3 plus 5 plus W. Since we can add numbers together, we're going to add 3 and 5. 8 plus W is what we end up with. And remember, we still can't combine letters and numbers or variables and numbers together. So we are going to stop at 8 plus W. That's all we're doing. We're not solving. We're not finding what it's equal to. We're not finding the value of W. We're simply just rearranging equations and expressions to work best. So we're going to give this a try. We have, for the first one, oops, oh my goodness. Never mind. All right, so for the first one, we have 10 plus f plus 4. We want to rearrange this just like we did in the example. So we're going to change the 4 to be second and the f to be last. Then we're going to combine. We're going to do 10 plus 4, and that gives us 14. So our answer would be 14 plus f. That is how we use the commutative property. With multiplication, it's the same idea. So we have 2 times k times 11. We know that we can't have letters or variables and numbers together. So we're going to rewrite this to where our numbers are together. I'm going to rewrite it as 2 times 11 times k. So I'm going to do the math with the numbers because I can't use the variable. 2 times 11 is 22, leaving us with 22k. Now, I don't need to put the multiplication sign there because when numbers and letters are touching, that means that they're multiplying. So we're going to scoot on over to these other examples. We have 15 plus p plus 6. I'm going to rearrange it to where my numbers are together. So 15 plus 6 plus p. And I'm going to combine my numbers. 15 plus 6 is 21. And then we're going to have plus p at the end. Now remember, this is addition and not multiplication, so you have to include your addition sign. With our last example here for commutative property, we have 4 times x times 8. And we're going to rearrange it so our numbers are together. So 4 times 8 times x. I'm going to combine these two numbers together, and 4 times 8 is 32. And I'm just going to put the x right behind it. No sign needed because multiplication doesn't always need a sign. The next property we're going to talk about is associative property. So we have an example here. We have 2 plus the value of, so that's in the parentheses, 11 plus f. So parentheses are used to group values, and we cannot add a number and a variable together. So we're going to use the associative property to move the parentheses over to where it includes both numbers. So that's exactly what we did here. We moved the parentheses, and now we're going to combine the two numbers just like we did before. The only difference here really is that we're using parentheses. So we're going to give it a try. Go ahead and flip it over so we can work on it. So we're going to give this a try for ourselves, remembering to move our parentheses to change the grouping so we can manipulate the numbers. So first we're going to start with 12 plus the value of 5 plus g. So we obviously can't combine the variable and the number. So we're going to move those, and it should be around the 12 and the 5 now. So now we have the value of 12 plus 5 plus g. So we're going to combine 12 plus 5, and that gives us 17. So our ending simplified version would be 17 plus g. In the second example, we're dealing with multiplication. So we have 5 times the value of 6 times h. Again, we cannot combine variables and numbers. So we're going to move those parentheses using the associative property. So we are going to have 5 times 6 inside of the parentheses, and we're going to have the value of h on the outside. When we combine 5 times 6, that gives us 30, so we would write this as 30h. Again, multiplication does not need a sign if it's a number and a variable next to each other. Moving on over to these last two examples of associative property, we have the value of y plus 7 plus 3. So we cannot combine those, so we're going to move our parentheses. So we're going to have y plus parentheses. I'm going to combine the 7 plus 3 in there. We're going to do the work inside the parentheses because we can't. 7 plus 3 is 10. So we are going to have the value of y plus 10. Remember, since this is addition, you do need to include your addition sign. It's only with multiplication that we can omit or not use the sign. On our last example, we have the value of m times 8 times 10. We cannot combine variables and numbers, so we're going to move our multiplication. So we're going to leave it with m outside of the parentheses with the multiplication sign, and then we're going to have 8 times 10 on the inside of our parentheses. So when we combine 8 times 10, we get 80. And that would be m times 80. Now, we can only omit or not use the multiplication sign if the variable is behind it. So this is exactly the same as writing 80m. It does not change it. It's the exact same thing. So either way, both of those would be your correct answer. That is how you use commutative and associative properties in math using variables, and how we are able to simplify the expressions that we're going to work with before actually starting. Go ahead and give it a try.